Dobry wieczór. Witajcie na moim cotygodniowym podsumowaniu polskich wiadomości. Tutaj William Murphy. Witam was bardzo serdecznie. Our main Polish news stories this week have included the coronavirus threat sees the introduction of border sanitary controls and the postponement of major events, including the Gdańsk Amberif fair. A German court refuses a Polish extradition request, citing profound doubts over the future independence of the judiciary. Foreign Minister Czaputowicz says the EU is changing its migration stance to emphasise security, and it's announced that the 28th Great Orchestra of Christmas charity raised 186 million zloty. The coronavirus, or COVID-19 outbreak, has continued to dominate the news agenda in both Poland and Ireland, with Poland announcing a series of measures to combat the spread of the disease. As of the time of preparation of this update, the number of confirmed coronavirus cases in Poland stood at 31, with no deaths attributed to the virus. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki announced the closing of all educational institutions and colleges for 2 weeks from next Monday. Theatres, museums and cinemas will also be closed. The government had announced on Monday that it would introduce sanitary checks at 4 border crossings with Germany and 1 with the Czech Republic, as well as on buses and coaches, and later at ports and on trains. The following day, the government announced it was banning large public gatherings and extending the sanitary controls to the country's eastern border. Of course, the most prominent casualty in this country to date has been the traditional St. Patrick's Day parades on March 17th, in which many Polish community groups participate. The Sports Ministry said it is recommending that all sporting events in the country be cancelled. The top Ekstraklasa Football League said that matches would be played behind closed doors without supporters. Lectures at Krakow's famous Jagiellonian University had been cancelled until further notice. New rules under which people suspected of having COVID-19 can be ordered to undergo treatment in hospital came into force on Sunday. At a press conference on Tuesday, Health Minister Łukasz Szumowski reported that at that point there were 20 confirmed COVID-19 cases in Poland. One of those ill with the virus is General Jarosław Mika, the General Commander of Poland's armed forces. The Defence Ministry said that, after returning from an army gathering in Germany, General Mika has been diagnosed with the coronavirus. Those accompanying him have been quarantined. Also on Tuesday, the National Security Council met at the initiative of President Duda, which included representatives of opposition parties, as well as the President and members of the government. Szumowski said the talks were constructive and without any partisan rancour. The purpose of the meeting was to agree joint action aimed at preventing the spread of the virus. President Andrzej Duda has announced that his re-election campaign won't hold large public rallies due to the need to contain the spread of coronavirus. Speaking on Monday evening, after meeting with Prime Minister Morawiecki, Health Minister Łukasz Szumowski and Chief Sanitary Inspector Jarosław Pinkas, Duda said that, "I've made the decision that I will not be holding any large meetings as part of my presidential campaign." He added that he's very grateful for the crowds that attend these rallies, but added that, "It seems that the risk the coronavirus might spread as a result of this is too big, and I don't want to put people at risk." Leading opposition candidate Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska said on Twitter that she was also deferring any large rallies. Duda's announcement came ahead of Tuesday's confirmation by Prime Minister Morawiecki that all mass gatherings in the country would be cancelled. The famous March of the Living at the site of the former Nazi German Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp, scheduled for April 21st, has been postponed indefinitely. 110 delegations from around the world had been due to take part. The huge annual international Amber Fair, Amberif, which was due to take place in Gdańsk from the 18th to the 21st of March, has been postponed. The 27th edition of the fair will now take place from August 26th to 29th. Amberif is one of the largest such trade fairs in the world. In the case of Ireland, and indeed of other countries, while it's vitally important we all play our part in the current effort to contain the virus, it's also important to retain a sense of proportion, and ultimately a balance needs to be struck between effective measures to protect public health and measures which unnecessarily cripple the economic and social life of the country. Moving to other news. On Monday, it was reported by a German news agency that the Karlsruhe Higher Regional Court has refused an extradition application for a Polish national wanted on fraud charges due to what he described as profound doubts about the future independence of the Polish judiciary. According to the German Association of Judges, it's the first time such an application has been refused in Germany, and follows the recent reports that Norway is ending judicial cooperation with Poland under the Norway Grants Programme due to the ongoing controversy over rule of law issues in the country. The German court ruling states that the extradition warrant issued against the man, who was arrested on December the 4th, has to be lifted, and the man released, because there's a high likelihood that extradition for the purpose of criminal prosecution proves to be, at least currently, inadmissible, because of the current developments with Poland's judicial reform. The court has requested more information from the Polish judicial authorities. The man, who faces a potential jail sentence of up to 8 years if extradited and convicted, maintains his innocence and claims that witnesses were bribed to make false allegations against him. In its ruling, the court also noted that the man is not charged with a particularly serious crime and is permanently resident in Germany. Meanwhile, the Centre for Global Constitutionalism has published an open letter to the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, criticising the recently enacted Polish law under which judges can be disciplined for criticising the judicial reforms or the judgments of fellow judges. The group of legal academics urged von der Leyen to bring an expedited infringement action against Poland over what they termed the muzzle law. Last Friday, Polish Foreign Minister Jacek Czaputowicz told reporters in Zagreb after a meeting of EU foreign ministers that the bloc is changing its stance on migration more towards an emphasis on security, as long urged by Hungary and Poland. The comments come amid the current standoff at the Greek-Turkish border, with mainly Syrian refugees attempting to enter the bloc. Czaputowicz said that this approach, championed by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and based on securing and protecting borders and stopping waves of illegal migration, has prevailed. So it's like a paradigm shift. The European Union is now talking less about the rights of refugees and human rights, but focusing on security. President Duda has faced criticism this week for approving a controversial bailout of public broadcasters. Duda said last Friday he'd signed into law the bill already approved by Parliament, providing public media organisations with 1.95 billion zloty in treasury bonds to compensate them for uncollected licence fee income, including because of exemptions. Opposition parties had instead called for the money to be spent on cancer treatment. The Association of Public Media Employers said in a resolution that the additional funding was needed to maintain the proper functioning of the public media, ensure a high level of programming and quality staff for 19 media outlets. Polish radio, public television, TVP, and 17 regional radio stations signed the appeal. The Polish movie Supernova, directed by Bartosz Królik, won the Dublin Film Critics Circle Award for Best Movie at the Virgin Media Dublin International Film Festival, which concluded last weekend. Królik attended the Dublin screening on Saturday night, along with the director of photography, Michał Dymek. On Saturday, Warszawa Zoo announced the death of Erna, the oldest female elephant in the zoo, who was known as the Iron Lady. Erna, born in 1985, was a much-loved character who apparently knew how to exercise her authority over fellow members of the elephant herd. Finally, on Sunday, it was announced that this year's 28th Great Orchestra of Christmas charity raised a total of just over 186 million zloty, or €43 million, up 10 million zloty on last year. The orchestra culminated in the annual nationwide fundraiser on January 12th, which was also supported by Polish communities around the world, including in Ireland. The charity's leading personality, Jerzy Owsiak, said at a press conference that this is an enormous sum which we can now use to buy medical equipment, and we are already considering what. Our experts are already talking to hospitals and doctors. The funding will be targeted at improving conditions of operating theatres, intensive care units, and diagnostics in paediatric surgery. Tosheszko Naczęczyzn, Zapraszam na kolejne podsumowanie z tydzień o tej samej porze. Dobranoc.